How about that quarterback? He's something else.
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what's going on, everybody? We are back. I'm here with Grifka. Grifka, what's going on, my man?
Just waiting for the final preseason game to be finished so I can really think about the season. This roadblock of Cleveland Browns is, just really hampering my hype for football.
I was going to say, you're waiting on the fourth preseason game? Why? But you're waiting for it to be over. I hear you there, no doubt about it. So we got a lot on the docket today, Grifka, so we're going to jump right in like we normally do. And we're just going to start off here with some news and notes, kind of catch everybody up to where we were last week, where we left off. So starting out with that Tampa Bay preseason game 3, it's supposed to be the dress rehearsal. We're supposed to see the starters more than we had in the past. Give me some of your quick hit thoughts and just in general things that maybe jumped out to you, a player you were excited about, or did you absolutely?
To be perfectly honest with you, I went to bed before that game was over. There was 7 minutes left in it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got tired of watching it. Then I got up the next morning, I saw that they come back and won. I'm like, great. Now I'm going to have to find the NFL Network, check the last 10 minutes out of that game. But anyways, I know from before we had talked about this, about preseason football, and don't get me wrong, I'll take a win as a win. But that game was our crappy guys are better than your crappy guys. That's what it was, and even
that's a Grifka gimmick bit. Yeah. Now you said that you've been on that for a while.
But the worst part about it was there was points where their crappy guys were better than our starters. So to be perfectly honest with you, that game, it got me worried. I don't know from watching the broadcast, it sounded like even Tampa Bay was doing a little more than a regular preseason game, and just with blitzes and what their offense was doing, that just wasn't the basic run of the mill stuff. It looked like even the Lions ran a few more blitzes, tried a few more things, but it was nice to see Stafford go down and lead him to a field goal. But that defense, I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, they made him look like a Hall of Famer. Jameis Winston comes in to thing. I mean, the defense couldn't get off the field. Nevin Lawson, that guy should have just had his jersey pulled right after the game and said, "Hey, here's a bus ticket to your home." I mean, that guy, like you mentioned in the podcast going into that game, Nevin Lawson was talking how he wanted to play more. It's like, dude, yeah, you played more and you got played. I mean, you got beat by their fifth wide receiver on a touchdown in the third quarter, and he just looked terrible. I mean, I'm starting to think we're in real trouble if Nevin Lawson is our second best cornerback, and he had 8 tackles. I mean, and he wasn't coming up to stuff the run. No, those were on passes, and he was the only one out there to make the tackle. So that was one of those things where watching that defense get sliced up by those guys, and it looked like Detroit did even a little more game planning in it, but they looked awful terrible. And then Matt Patricia right before the halftime, what the heck are you thinking? I mean, really, he's running down the clock. I'm like, call timeout, call timeout, call timeout, call timeout. And then he eventually calls one to give, Matt Prater a chance at a 62-yarder in Tampa Bay off wet grass and humidity. I'm just thinking, what's this all about? And that thing was 15 yards short. And then they're talking about it like, well, they did practice that in practice, just in case ever that was to happen in a game. It's just like, so you're going to try it in a preseason game to see if your guys can tackle somebody so they don't run it back for a touchdown, and they didn't. So that game made me worry, to be honest with you. Yeah, fine, we took the win, and Jake Rudock let him down for the W, and Brian Powell had that punt return for a touchdown, and that's how the Lions ultimately won. But that defense making those quarterbacks look that good, and I know we had talked about they have some weapons, but I mean, Ronald Jones running over on them. I mean, Mike Williams got hurt, so he left. But they made, Deshaun Jackson. I realize he's fast and all, but that guy's lost a step or two, and he's still running away from Lions defensive backs. And it was just, I was pretty disappointed.
Grifka.
That's like I said. That's why I went to bed.
All right, I got to jump in on you here. I can't do the 10-minute solo from you, but I want to respond to some things you said. First off, we are the Detroit Koolaid Cast, so all the people out there are expecting us to be living and dying with every play. With that being said, I did exactly what you did. I fell asleep late in the early in the second half. I woke up. I found out they won. I was like, I got to pull the game up and see what happened. What did I see? Jake Rudock kind of throwing some nickel and dimers to win the game for us. So we're on the same boat there. I mean, we are absolute diehard Lions fans, but that just shows how terrible the NFL preseason is. So that's first off. Second off, a guy that you mentioned, he's on here on my notes in big bold print. Nevin Lawson was absolute garbage. I didn't rewind the tape to actually count them, but I remember during the first quarter going, is that like the sixth straight ball that's been thrown on Nevin Lawson? Like every time a ball would be completed, it would be 24, like a yard or two behind. And then, like you said, pushing him out of bounds, missing a tackle. He was the worst. I'd never seen a guy get picked on so bad again. It's like, it wasn't like Nevin Lawson, for 2 catches on him and then maybe another guy. It was literally, if I went back and counted, I want to say there was 6 to 7 balls completed on this one player over and over again. I mean, he just had terrible coverage. That's just inexcusable. So that was another thing. And then the third one, I'll just hit on what you hit on. This Matt Patricia end of half. Like, I'm trying to figure out what you could even be thinking from start to finish. So first of all, we kind of putz our way along as far as an offense, and we make, I think it was one good pass to Theo to get kind of to the middle of the field. We have 3 timeouts, no sense of urgency from, I don't even put this on the coach. That's Matt Stafford. Like, you're the quarterback. I know it's preseason, but he looked like he wasn't in any rush to do anything. He didn't get his players lined up. He was just kind of going through the motions. So that's first off. Second off, when you get that first down, what are you going to take all these timeouts in your pocket? Like, why are we not calling a timeout or at the very worst spiking a football? When we had a first down, we just sat there, let 25 seconds run off. And then, like you said, the field goal was so dumb. I don't mind giving my field goal kicker a long try if that's what you want to kind of see where his range is. But like you said, terrible weather. The ball was way short. And then if you practice that play, you sure didn't practice it very well because, it was an absolute NFL Follies video watching our huge lineman just – did you see Don Muehlbach dive just for the sake of diving?
Yeah,
and he was
that was
3 yards away.
That was for the film right there. So when they're watching the game the next day, it's like, Coach, I tried, man. I dove for his feet. Like, yeah, okay.
That was like I need to turn my jersey into the laundry guys to show that I did something. So let me get this grass stain real quick, and that's all it was because that was not a tackle attempt to save my life. So that was just embarrassing to end the half. I mean, what they did in the second half to me, nobody jumped out other than Brandon Powell. I thought he, at the second half, every time I was looking up, he was making a little catch or moving the sticks. But, I'm taking nothing good away again. What Matt Stafford have? 2-3 completions that looked decent. That was about it. Nothing wowed me there. I didn't see anything from our other skill guys. And the defense just was ho-hum again. So I thought it was another lackluster performance. Again, preseason, so I'm not putting too much stock in it. But, like I say, we got to move through these pretty quick, but those are my responses to your takes, and just we're basically on the same page, but man, chalk it up as another very lackluster game.
Yep.
So with that being said, Grifko, the other item, catching up on the news, bringing in Eli Harold on a trade, former, I want to say first rounder, is that right?
No, I don't think he was a first rounder for him. I think he was like a third.
Was he a third? I thought he was a late. I'll pull it up here. Maybe he had first round talent and then slipped to the third or something like that. But I like the name when I heard it, especially outside backer. That kind of has some blitz ability and whatnot. What was your thoughts of that trade?
I like the trade. From what I've known about the guy, it sounds like he's underperformed a little bit since he's come in the league. But he is a guy. He's supposed to be, from what I've read about him. He should be able to put his hand in the dirt, pretty quick, maybe able to set the edge. And I know the Lions have had a lot of trouble with that the last couple of years. Seem like, setting the edge. We've seen that already in the preseason. So, if it's a guy that the Lions want and they feel that he'll help the defense, especially getting to the quarterback and some speed at outside linebacker, I'm pretty happy with the trade. And I guess they have 2 weeks or something like that to decide if they keep him. Then they lose the conditional 7th round, or they can give him back and they get their 7th round pick back or something like that. I believe that's how that trade works out. But I like the trade.
Yeah, just a conditional 7th, so they can not keep him and really, it was just a trial run, or, he could turn out to be something. But I saw some interviews from him. I liked him. I just verified, yeah, he was a 3rd rounder, but I remember him coming out in the draft. He had some buzz as far as he's like 240 pounds as a pass rusher, linebacker type of guy. So that seems to be like what our scheme is going to be now, those type of guys. And like I say, even if he just plays behind Devin Kennard and adds some depth and is another athlete out there, I don't mind it one bit. So I was pretty happy with that move. Just, again, a really low level, but maybe a sneaky move to look at. But Grifka, we've got to talk about the big news last week. Sunday night at 8 o'clock. I saw it at about 10 o'clock. The news broke that Khalil Mack was in Detroit. It was from just a well-known source, a random limo driver to some jabron on 97.1, Dan Leach, who breaks the news like it was coming from the Pentagon. I sent it out to you fellas just as a half joke, but I was half just praying that there was some substance to it because I just want Khalil Mack so bad. What'd you think, Grifka, when he showed up in that limo? Pretty good, huh?
You mean the fake story that he wasn't in town? I mean,
oh yeah.
When I saw that, I'm just like, oh, really? And then I was like, I don't know if I believe this. I mean, this sounds like too good to be true, and this totally goes against the Lions' MO of actually, really wanting a stud on defense. So when you sent that to me, I was like, wow, really? I was surprised. I'm like, yeah, maybe this is a new regime. We're actually gonna trade something to get probably one of the best defenders in the league. But then I started to think about it. I'm just like, nah, man, that ain't happening. So. Like you said, some random limo driver is, starting rumors. But it would have been nice if it would have happened. But I didn't think it was true.
Yeah, terrible. Just terrible. Reporter etiquette. But the thing I thought is that guy's not really a reporter. He's just trying to get clicks and trying to get some buzz, which it did. It was on a bunch of news outlets. So. To me, I don't have a huge issue with it, except for the integrity of the actual person that put it out. That's, if you have we can put something like that out and it would be no big deal. But these people that are in the newspapers or in the sports radio have to be a little more careful. So it was a little, kind of bush league that way. The other thing, though, I want to ask before we move on to our last kind of news and notes and get into our main topics today is, Grifka, do you ever think the Lions are going to man up and actually make a big time swing, or are they just always with again, big Bob Quinn supporter, kind of still like what he's building, but is Bob Quinn at some point going to take a big swing? Either in free agency, trade, whatever it may be, or you think he's just going to try to draft well and nickel and dime these mid-tier guys?
If he's trying to build like the Patriots, I think he's just going to nickel and dime. I mean, do the Patriots ever really go out and just make like this huge splash in free agency? It just never seemed that way. I mean,
hold on, but it's not. I'll say no, because of back in the day, you didn't see big money signings, but you did see them go out and get players that were either on the outs with their team or former first rounders that didn't work, and other people that did pan out for the Patriots or did work. They took some swings. Again, Randy Moss was a big swing when they took it, as far as everybody thought he was done, and he ended up breaking the record. They've taken some other guys who was it? Who's the guy for the Raiders? Seymour. Remember when they took him?
Oh, they traded.
That
was
a big swing.
They got rid of Richard Seymour a year before he was he was one of those guys that they got rid of him a year before, as opposed to a year after. He was one of those guys, Richard Seymour. And Richard Seymour went out to Oakland, had a few good years with Oakland yet. I mean, so I don't know if they misread that one, per se, but. I mean, you're right. They've done it with Corey Dillon at running back when, he was kind of on the outside of Cincinnati. And I believe they did it. They took a swing with Roosevelt Colvin at outside linebacker, and he was coming off an injury, and Colvin had a couple good years for him. And you're right. They've done that. But, I mean, if that's the way Bob Quinn's going to look at it, and that, that could lead us into our next topic I believe we're going to talk about. But I don't see them, trading away a whole bunch of stock, a whole bunch of, either players or picks to go get a Khalil Mack or somebody like that. I mean, I could see him waiting until Khalil Mack, is on his last couple legs, and it's like, oh yeah, now we get him. People get hyped about it, saying, oh wow, we got Khalil Mack. It's like, yeah, that would have been a great pickup 5 years ago, but it seems like if he's gonna try to follow the Patriot way, I could see it more like they're not gonna dive in and go big splash. And everything's just gonna be, we're gonna sap the last couple of years of football out of you, or we're gonna build through the draft.
See, I'm on the other side of the coin. Like, I think up to now, it's been a lot of, cheap signings, building depth, kind of trying to draft well, all that kind of thing. I think Bobby Quinn's got a couple big swings in his pocket and a couple big plays. I just don't know when he's going to do it, but to me, we only got a 2 to 4 year window right now to win big with this quarterback, with the actual skill guys and the kind of team construction we have before it's both a rebuild on the fly or a kind of changing of the guard with this team.
And to be honest,
so I think it's time to go get somebody big if they come available. Like Khalil Mack's not coming available any other time.
Right, and I believe Bob Quinn, he has a shelf life. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, you came here, you're supposed to turn this around. I mean, we were, everybody's like, we were close, man. We were 9-7. We were game out of the playoffs. We made the playoffs the year before with Jim Caldwell. You got rid of him. It's one of those things where he has a shelf life. So if this team takes like a step back, it's like, you hear all this stuff. They have such a hard schedule. I've seen some predictions where they're going like 5-11. It's one of those things. If they go 5-11, I mean, there's going to be fans that are going to be up in arms wondering what's going on here. It's like you brought in your coach. These are supposed to be your guys that you wanted to bring in. You signed Devin Kennard. You signed Christian Jones. I mean, the guy has a shelf life. So you're right. Maybe it's one of those things where he does need to make a splash and go get a Khalil Mack or something like that to show it's just like, okay, we're on the cusp here. We're going to try to get, the final piece of the puzzle.
See, but that's you, Grifka, who's going to be the guy up in arms if they have a terrible year. Like, I'm a guy that, Bob Quinn, to me, he came in. He kept Jim Caldwell. He's been building for 2 years on getting rid of the players that can't cut it in the NFL. And he brought in his guy now. So I'm expecting or hoping for a good year, but I'm also real to the point that it may take a year or so for Patricia to get his system and his guys going and get all that figured out. So I have a little more patience probably than you or maybe some other people will. But
are you trying to tell me you'd be fine if this team went 5-11?
Yeah, I was just talking to some buddies the other day saying, what if this team won six games or less? And they were, would you go freak out or would you just understand that they're both still building, or maybe it's just not, it didn't all come together like we hoped, and they were kind of, we were split on it. But I was definitely more on the, I hope it doesn't happen. I don't see it happening, but if it did, I wouldn't be one of those guys with the pitchforks saying Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia can't coach. No way. But anyway, back to the point about Khalil Mack. My point is that this guy, a player like this, not only doesn't become available much, but I'm pretty sure by giving away some decent contracts, you could afford a guy like this as the centerpiece of your defense. So if they don't do this move, what's going to be the next one that will be in the making for that we could do? Because I feel like Khalil Mack's a Detroit type of guy too. He went, what was he at Buffalo in college?
Yeah, he's at Buffalo. He's
a kind of no nonsense, hardworking, tough. You went classic Grifka and compared him to Lawrence Taylor, which to me that actually does fit. He is that type of player, and so that's why I'm just saying, this passes us by. When and if we get another chance, when are we going to pull the trigger? Because I don't feel like we've made a big move. I can't even remember the last semi-big move the Lions have made via trade. It's always been these nothing. I'm just waiting for him to swing.
That would have been what Pat Swilling, when we gave up. I don't even know if you were a Lions fan at that time, if you remember that Pat Swilling trade where we gave up our first round pick for Pat Swilling, and the New Orleans Saints took Willie Roaf. So that one everybody shakes their head at, but that's one of those things that you said. It's just we need a pass rusher. They went and traded for Pat Swilling, and they misused Pat Swilling. So, but then the New Orleans Saints got Hall of Famer Willie Roaf. So,
and my thing though is just, I don't know. I feel like I always get discouraged when I bring something up like a big player, and you and all of my other friends are like, they'll never do that. I'm like, can't wait for the time when they surprise us all and they do it and it works out, because the only thing I can remember, again, the slowing was a bit before my day, but um, Julian Peterson back in the day was kind of a trade that came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, this guy's a pass rusher. And he was a total flop. You know what I mean? This guy on the back end of his career, I don't even know why we made a move for a player like that. He didn't fit our scheme or anything. Like, other than that, every trade we ever made is like these, oh, he might be a good second corner or third corner. Hey, he might be a backup defensive tackle. It's like we got to start, if we're going to make plays for people, it's got to be starters or it's got to be impactful guys. And you do win in the NFL and long term via the draft. But all the good teams that win, just look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't just draft and sit there. They went out and got some free agents. They had made some good draft picks. They have cultivated some good draft picks, and then you win a Super Bowl. You don't just sit there and never make a big move and think it's just going to find you. You got to go out and be a little bit bold. Look at what LA's doing, the Rams this year. They're going out acquiring people to add to what they already have to try to win one. That's what I want to see.
I agree with you on that. I really do. But it just seems like the Lions won't do that. I don't know why. Maybe, we'll be hit with the salary cap, or
they won't, and they haven't. They won't, and they haven't. But they need to, and when the time is right. And I feel like this is one of those times where it would make a ton of sense. It would just cost you some dough. But if you give away the right people, it's not like you're going to add $22 million to the books to get Mac. You're going to add like 10 or 12 because you're going to be giving back like 8 or 10 at least.
You're probably going to lose Ziggy after this year anyway, so big deal.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So I'm there with you. I mean, I just don't know if it'll happen.
Yeah. So too bad he wasn't in that limo. I was hoping for a press conference by midweek. Didn't happen. I pretty much knew it was bogus as well when I read it. But like you say, there's definitely a bit of hope in me that one of these times where I read a rumor or I hear something, it does come to fruition. We add a blue chip player here in Detroit because, man, we need it. So with that being said, Grifka, our final topic. We'll probably do a deep dive. Ayers signed on Tuesday, released on Wednesday. Your thoughts?
I was I gotta laugh about it. I mean,
right.
What happened there? I mean, dude, it was just like one of those things, man. It's just like, I saw that, hey, Robert Ayers, I mean, because we talked about this on a prior podcast. You're bringing one of those guys, and it's on, their last leg, and they still got a little bit of juice left in the tank. You bring him in to show, some people some of their moves and stuff. And I'm like, that's what I thought what this signing was. I'm like, okay, I'm fine with it. They realize that, the pass rush isn't there. They got one sack this preseason. They're obviously not getting to the quarterback, but, I was okay with it. And then I read the next day, I, flipping through it and, come across like the 12 o'clock. I'm on lunch and I get to, go to the Detroit Free Press, and they're like, Lions release Ayers. I'm just like, what? I'm just like, what's going on here? And it's just, all I could think of was just like, did he get here and realize, I'm done with football. I just don't want to do it anymore. I mean, I know that rumors out there he didn't pass his physical, or maybe he just didn't have the heart for it anymore. But when they signed him, I was okay with it. And then when they released him, I'm like, gosh, a day later? And it had to be something because they're totally not answering these questions. I mean, they had their was it the Detroit Football Club had their luncheon at the Rensen today. And that question was asked to Bob Quinn, and he totally bypassed it. And, I guess it was a 2-part question. He totally skipped the Robert Ayers part and just answered the other part. So, obviously, I'm thinking Ayers got here and said, man, I'm done with football. I don't want to do this anymore. And just decided to go. That's all I can think.
Well, I think we should take the Bob Quinn approach, Grifka, and just skip this question because I don't have anything to say on this. I thought it was maybe a decent signing, and then oh well, he's gone. What happened to me really doesn't make a difference. It looks kind of bad, and everyone's goofing on us as an organization, but he wasn't going to make or break our team. It's just weird to see a guy come in and out, before you can blink your eyes. So, again, we said enough on him. Hopefully that doesn't happen ever again. But what do we say? Godspeed. Move along to the next guy.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Griffin, we definitely still need some D-line help. So I'm sure they'll be on the lookout, but he definitely was not the guy, whatever the reason was. So getting into our main topics, that was kind of our news and notes for the day, catching you guys up in the week of Lions news, which pretty busy week with all those different things coming up and kind of going on, and we're getting real close to the season. So Grifka, what I thought we'd do in the main part of the podcast today was just talk about some of the main position groups and players as we lead into Game 4, kind of who you think before this game, is going to make the team in certain spots, and maybe a couple guys you'll have your eye on for the parts that we do watch this final game, and can they make a difference? Can they not? Sound good?
Yeah, that works.
So the first spot I had up on my list here was running back. I feel like we've talked about it a lot. After 3 preseason games, who's Grifka keeping in that backfield when it's time for cut down day?
Blunt, Carrion, Theo Riddick. Fourth one, gosh, I guess Amir, considering the other ones really haven't shown me a whole lot either. But I'm still not a huge fan of Amir. What's really leaving a bad taste in my mouth is just that fumble where, he didn't even really have the handoff and he just put the ball on the turf. I mean, it's stuff like that just makes me scared of that guy. So, the first 3, yeah. The fourth one, I guess it would be Amir, because really the other guys, they don't strike a whole lot of fear in me either.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I've been trying to stick up for Amir, but I've been hearing a lot of buzz that he's not going to make that bubble. He's gonna be booted for a guy like I was hearing an argument today about why Nick Bellore would make it. Special teams. Can play a little linebacker if you need him to. Blah blah blah. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I still like this team having a fullback. I just hate Nick Bellore, for the most part. And Bawden's obviously out. So, again, I would lean towards the talent. But again, the NFL roster, you definitely have to consider special teams and a few other things. So you got to fill out that roster. But I guess I'll be rooting for Amir to make it since we can't deal him, I guess. But I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't make the bubble. So, receiver, what are you seeing there? We got a couple guys at the bottom end of that roster spot. I got some stats here in front of me. We got Powell, who's had a heck of a preseason, 15 catches, 99 yards. He had the punt return for a touchdown. He's got an 18.2 yards per punt return average. You got Theo Redding, who I talked up before the preseason started. He's only had 3 catches, 36 yards, really hasn't flashed like they said he was doing in practice. So that'll be like, what are the coaches valuing? He hasn't showed up in the games, but I still am hearing practice reports that he's making plays pretty consistently. And then we got your boy Chase Billingsley, 5 catches, 40 yards, hasn't done anything really to catch my eye. What say you, Grifka, on the receivers? Kind of deal with those 3 particular. Do any of them make it, or what do you think?
Well, I think the one that would have the best chance of making it would probably be Powell. But he's one of those guys, once again. He can do kickoff and punt returns, but Lions already have guys that can do kickoff and punt returns. Is he going to be that much better? I guess that he doesn't really play, and he's not a gunner on special teams or anything like that. He might lose out to actually, we all know who the top 4 are. And then I said what the 5th one. One guy who's actually, I'm not sure his receiving stats, but I guess the guy, was just, a monster on special teams, as a gunner, doing really well. Is that was it Bradley Marquez is his name? I think that's who it is. That would be the guy that Powell would lose out to. But I think Powell's at that thing. He's undrafted free agent. So, so if he clears waivers, I could see the guy going on scout team, them trying to hide him on scout team, but I don't know if he'll be able to do that. But he's kind of one of those guys, like, yeah, he's fast, but he doesn't do anything else besides, kickoff and, punt return, which the Lions already have a few guys like that. So I guess it comes down to, if they keep Amir, because Amir can kickoff return, and Agnew's gonna do that. The guy was all pro, for Pete's sake. I can't see him taking him away from that. So I mean, Redding, like you said, Redding really hasn't put up any stats. Chase Billings, he's just not getting balls in games from what I've seen. So I mean, if we're just talking about those three, it'd be Powell. But I don't know. I still have him maybe not making it as in favor, like I said, the Bradley Marquez guy.
So here's my take on that. Like, my thoughts already on TJ Jones. Like, to me, before I throw it to you, I'm personally ready almost. I know like TJ Jones is a lock to make this roster. To me, I just go by the eye test sometimes, and what I've seen from Powell to me has been more explosive and more intriguing than a guy like TJ Jones, who's just kind of there, makes a play, maybe 2 plays a year, and that's about it. So I'd be ready to almost move on from TJ Jones and take a play on a guy like this Powell. I mean, he came from Florida. He had production. He's looked really good in almost every preseason game. He's a slot receiver. To me, he's not just a returner. He's a guy you can put in the slot and help move the chains and make those little underneath catches. Has some quickness and shiftiness. So, to me, I'm like considering Powell as a fifth. But like, if I really want to get aggressive, I would think about making him, that fourth, or trying to upgrade my fourth with another guy that gets cut, and then maybe keep Powell on the roster. But I think the guy makes the team. I mean, I think if you're picking from those three I read off, he's definitely the guy. And then I don't know there's anybody else that really, if they're going to keep that extra receiver, to me, he's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it happening, but like you're saying, he's making these plays. I guess my thing is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not, the biggest, I'm not a big TJ Jones fan either, but I think the guy's only.
You love him.
I think he's another guy, but
you love his haircut and everything.
Yeah, really. I mean, I had him sign your helmet and everything, even though you think it's Darius Slay. But I guess what level of competition is Powell doing it against? And I know that's the hard thing in the preseason. It kind of runs into that. I kind of want to go back to the Azakim signing. It's just like, oh, Azakim's awesome. Yeah, he was the fourth wide receiver on that Rams team, and yeah, he was fast. And now you're trying to put a fourth wide receiver number one. Right? Powell's doing this against guys that aren't even going to make the team. If you try to bring him up playing against, the starting nickel or something like that, I mean, is he still going to have the same explosiveness? Is he still going to be able to do that? So, I mean, I guess that's my only question is what level of competition is he doing that? I mean, if he makes the team, I completely understand because he's just throwing up mad stats. But it seems like we talked about this earlier. You always see those guys that just throw up mad stats. They don't make the team, and everybody's like, why don't they bring him back? Well, the guy's a free agent. Obviously, he couldn't have been that good because nobody else wanted him. So, I mean, I think they could hide him on the practice squad, and then when somebody gets injured, I mean, because it'll happen, he'll be one of those guys that comes up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, sounds good. We got a bunch still more to get through, so let's kind of go through these pretty quick. Quarterback. We got 3 guys to talk about. The 2 that are on that chopping block. Like, where you leaning, Rudock or Castle right now?
I'm thinking it's going to be Matt Castle. I mean, yeah, Rudock led that touchdown drive, but like we talked, I think he's doing more of a Dink and Doug, check down Charlie type thing. So I think Patricia's going to be more comfortable with Matt Castle.
Okay, that's what you think will happen. What would Grifka do?
Me, I'd probably go with Matt Castle.
Okay, I'm
not a huge fan of him, but I would between those two, I'd go with Castle.
Yeah, I'll be real quick on this. I'm actually leaning back towards keeping Rudock, but also like being real, like eyes wide open on seeing who gets cut, and if there's another quarterback that's better than him, consider like bringing him in, depending on if he has similarities with the scheme. But I could definitely go another year with Rudock, just see if he's coming along at all, and then make the decision after this year. So I'm kind of pulling and hoping for Rudock, but I think that they're both terrible, and we need to kind of upgrade that backup quarterback, which you talked about before. D-line, we got a couple guys here. Let me look at I wrote a couple names down. So to me, I heard some rumblings the other day that Kerry Hyder is a guy that might need to be on the cut bubble. I really haven't seen anything from him. I don't know if it's because of him coming back from the injury or if the scheme doesn't fit him, but that was a name I had down. And to me, I don't know where these guys like Valalaga and some of these later Ledbetter that we drafted. I mean, you think all of these guys make the team, or what do you think?
I don't know. From what I'm reading right now, the guy that may be like the last D lineman that we keep would be Ledbetter. And like I said, I read the same thing about Kerry Hyder, and I'm kind of, like I said, I know we talked about this before. He might be just a guy. He might have just had that 1 year, and everybody's like, "Oh, Kerry Hyder's great." But from what I'm reading, it's almost like Ledbetter's the guy. And you're right. I mean, I would feel for Kerry Hyder because that injury really sapped his career then, and which is really too bad. Because yeah, I mean, he obviously played with a chip on his shoulder and got where he was at. But from what it sounded like, you're right. It sounds like he might not make the team, and might be Ledbetter the guy they keep.
Yeah, see, I mean, I agree that the injury hurt Hyder, but I don't think even if healthy, he doesn't really. He's a smaller end that kind of, he can't move around from like linebacker. He's just kind of a rush end that's not as big, has a little bit of burst. So I think he's just kind of odd man out maybe because of scheme. I do like his personality and just kind of like his want to, but I just don't think he fits maybe. And then I'm with you. I think Ledbetter or Valaga are the guy, but these guys like Barrett, this defensive end who had a couple flashes, like there's going to be a lot of those guys that are going to be gone that we kind of either spent a late pick on or picked up as undrafted and given them a year, and they're probably just going to be out the door. So I think a lot of those guys that are on the bubble will probably get the boot. And then the other thing I was talking with some friends about was I'm so curious to see where Ashawn ends up because to me he's had a terrible preseason. I don't know if it's attitude or skills or what, but I don't know where he falls on both the depth chart. I feel like he'll be starting come Monday night, but if he doesn't produce, I could see him falling down the depth chart and just being a really kind of backup rotational piece if he just doesn't make any strides this year, and that's sad to see. So he's not a cut casualty, but he's somebody to keep our eye on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
What tight ends, we don't have many to talk about, but a lot of rumblings about, maybe they would cut Michael Roberts. He hasn't been so great. Like, to me, that's a bunch of garbage. One, because we don't know what's going on with Luke Wilson. You spent a 4th, 5th round pick on this guy. And to me, yeah, he's been up and down, but to me, there's no way you cut and give up on a guy like that already. Like, it just doesn't make sense, I don't think. So, is there a tight end you're moving on from, or are you just rolling with those like 3 or 4 guys and trying to hope that you can get by this year?
The guy I really liked so far this preseason was that Akeem Velez. I mean, that guy. I mean, that.
Hold on, though. When you say really likes, I had a bunch of buddies who were like, "Oh, this Velez guy," and to me, this guy is just he's another guy that. Yeah, I don't mind him making the roster and you having a role for him, but let's not get over our shoes and think this guy's gonna consistently make plays every week in the NFL. Like,
hey, man, that guy was making catches with the first team. I mean, he's out there running against first team defenses, and he's hauling the ball and he's blocking pretty good. I mean, I've seen him make better catches than your boy Mike Roberts, Mr. Big Hands. I mean, so let's not be sitting here. Oh, just because we drafted a guy in the 5th round means we need to hang on to him. I mean, if a guy's not producing, the guy's not producing. And if a guy's out there catching the ball and blocking people, I'll keep that guy. Like I said, in my tight end, I'm not looking for a tight end to lead you to the Super Bowl. I'm looking for a tight end who can catch the ball and move the sticks. And that's what Velez has done this preseason. I haven't seen Mike Roberts do that at all. I mean, I know you're the king of the Mike Roberts bandwagon. But like you said, let's not be getting over our shoes here, thinking Mike Roberts is going to be the next, Tony Gonzalez. Okay.
I'm glad you got Tony Gonzalez, and I've been waiting for a few throwbacks from you. But here's the thing, though.
Is that better?
I'm a Mike Roberts guy because I think he does one thing really well, and that's be a red zone terror like he was in college, and we even saw that in practice. He makes plays in tight. Is he a guy that's going to split out and terrorize people route running or be the most athletic? No. I'm just pulling up Velez's stats because – so he played 11 games for Arizona, 1 start. He has no stats at all, no catches, no nothing. I don't even see any other career stats. Let's see what this guy has because to me, you and all these other people are getting caught up that, he's made a few plays. Like, he kind of looks like our best guy right now. To me, that doesn't mean that he can be, a functional piece. He can maybe have a role. Like I said, they could draw up some plays for him. He could come in and be the pass catcher to some degree, but I don't know. He's got good size, like 6'3" or 6'4"-ish, 250, only 25 years old, but he's just never done anything in the league, where at least Mike Roberts in college had caught all those touchdowns, and I've seen it. I just think he'll be a player you're super frustrated with, where this Valles, like, you'll have a lot of stock in him, and then I don't see him being the guy. So I don't know. You're cutting Mike Roberts then, Grifka?
The guy isn't produced. If the guy doesn't make the team, I'm not going to cry over it.
Okay. It's a wasted pick, and you only got to see him for a year and he wasn't even on the field last year. So you're going to roll with Toilolo, Luke Wilson, and Valles as your tight ends, and go okay with that?
Okay, well, like you said, though, I mean, we already sunk a whole bunch of time into Eric Ebron, because he was a first-round pick, and that guy, had frying pan hands. But so we're just going to hang on to a fifth-round pick because we got to see the guy for 1 year. He's got big hands, and he caught a whole bunch of touchdowns at Toledo. Okay, let's pump the brakes here on his greatness. I realize
Nobody's saying he's great. I said he had a little role, which is a chain mover and a red zone guy, and you're talking up this other guy who's never done anything.
I've seen him do zero of that so far in any preseason game, though.
What have you seen Valles do? You saw him make a few catches this year, and now you're set on the guy?
A few catches that move the chains. I'll live with the guy moving the chains over some guy like dropping the ball. We saw him run laps at practice. I mean, come on.
Right. I just admitted he's going to frustrate you. We
already had a tight end who frustrated us. Okay, I'd rather have somebody who can catch the ball.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, if Luke Wilson's hurt, Mike Roberts is definitely staying around. If he's not, then I'm keeping Wilson, Valles, and Mike. I'm keeping it. Can I keep 4? Because I got to keep Toilolo as my big old blocking guy.
You can keep 4 tight ends. That's fine.
I don't know, like, if they will, but to me, like, if you don't have Toilolo, you just got your back where you have no blocking tight end, which we've seen how that worked out. Yeah. So, anyway, it's going to be a position to watch, and if they cut Mike Roberts, does it ruin our year? No, but I think way too early to quit on this guy. So, any cornerbacks, Grifka, that we need to talk about as far as on the bubble?
Besides Nevin Lawson? No, not really. I mean, I don't know if those guys that they just signed, the Moore, McDougal, I don't know if those guys are going to make the team. I don't know if they've been around enough to really make a difference, back there on the back end. I mean, they're not going to get rid of Teeth Tabor, even though they may not be happy with his production so far. They signed, with a Shed, so I don't think they're going to get rid of him simply because, they signed him.
But what's the deal with him? He hasn't been out there. He hasn't been practicing. Nobody will say what's up with him. Like, to me, he could be a surprise cut because I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he did something in the locker room that they didn't approve of. He's just been MIA for 3 weeks now.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been reading those same speculations that you've been probably reading, that he's probably hurt. Nobody, they won't speculate on what the injury is, though. If it's quad, hamstring, foot, nothing like that. But everything I'm reading is just like, yeah, he's probably hurt. It could be hurt. Insider says he's a little nicked up. Just stuff like that. But like you said, did he, make somebody mad in the locker room? Did he shoot his mouth off when he shouldn't have? I mean, I don't know. But if, like you said, if he was cut, I could see why, because he doesn't have anything on tape. I mean, we brought him in. He was supposed to be part of that Legion of Boom, but we haven't seen anything to, say, hey, you might have been like the, you might have been the part of the Legion of Boom, being the doorman for him or whatever. I don't know.
To me, there's nobody really that's going to surprise me from a cut perspective. But from what I saw from Nevin Lawson this last game, like, to me, when he was getting toasted and roasted, and they didn't even give Tease a chance to get out there and kind of guard up on people or see what he could do, that told me a lot. But like I say, Nevin Lawson needs to be down the depth chart if he keeps that up, because I don't know if he thought he was playing touch football out there or it was a practice or what, but he just had no fire, no coverage ability, no nothing. And that was disappointing. So, I don't think you'll see any surprises, but how they're going to shake down between those starters, I think is something to watch. Anybody in this fourth game that can you're going to be watching intently, or that like we already talked through a lot of names, but people that you're going to be rooting for or hoping kind of have a showing this game for?
I mean, I'm hoping that Eli Harold, he gets to play some. I would really like to see what he can do. I mean, like I said before, just been kind of reading up on the guy to see exactly, what his game is, and I'd like to see why they brought him in. What they brought him in for. That's the guy I wouldn't mind. Him getting a number of snaps to see where he fits, or if he does fit on this team. I mean, we only gave up a seventh round pick. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I want to see him as well. The other name we didn't talk about when we were talking about running backs, and it's the guy that I was kind of advocating for making the team when we did the dollars and cents series, was D. Wash. Dwayne Washington has been nowhere to be found. I don't even know if he has barely any carries. He hasn't done anything. They don't let him return anymore. And then I was reading an article or listening to something, and I think it was Amir was saying that D. Wash is not only the best athlete, but the most explosive player in the running back room, was what he said, which, again, take that for what it's worth. But he just said he's a specimen, size, speed, catch, and do it all. And, this guy's going to be out on the street. We have no role for him and haven't even used him. So he's done, but I'd kind of like to see if he could flash in this last game, just because I liked what I saw from him his first year. And then last year he was, nowhere to be found, but he seems like he's on the outs. And then have you given up on your boy Chase Billingsley, Grifka? Has that ship sailed?
Yeah, he hasn't. Either he's not getting open, or he's not getting the snaps, or he's just not getting the ball thrown to him. So, once again, I thought we could get that little slot guy, the little shifty guy that could go in and make those catches and move the chains, because it seemed like when the ball was thrown to him, he'd catch it. But, he just hasn't got enough PT or enough balls this preseason for me to want to keep him.
You can get that shifty guy. His name is Brandon Powell. He's been doing it all preseason. And I'll have my eye on T.O. because, like I said, I haven't seen anything, but I think he'll get a lot of run. And if he makes a few splash plays, again, from what I've read and seen a little bit about him, I'm ready to keep him over T.J. Jones too.
Your hatred for T.J. Jones is so funny.
Hey, man. I feel like we're set with our top three wideouts, so I'd rather get some new young blood in here and people that can explosive and stretch the field rather than, like I say, T.J. Jones made 2 plays his whole life, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So,
hey, 2 plays. That's one more than your boy Odell Beckham.
Whatever, bro. I don't think so. So, anything else as we kind of – so we got 3 games down. This game 4 really means nothing. Anything else big you want to hit on before we move on?
No, I think we've covered all the topics that were pretty important.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Well, this week we have some questions, so we'll fire these at you, Grifka, and we'll kind of work our way through, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here and get ready for finishing up this week and then heading into some real football. So I got some questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Perfect. Well, this first question comes from Odell from New York, and he wants to know, Grifka, who are your top 5 NFL wide receivers?
God, I thought you meant real questions, not these fake ones.
This is a real question. Odell from New York wants to know. Grifka, hit him up.
Yeah.
Tell him, let him know.
Top 5?
Yeah.
I guess I would take over your boy with the new contract. I would take Julio Jones, AJ Green, Antonio Brown, Mari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins. I would take those 5. If I was to continue, who I would take, above him, I would take. I played backyard football with this guy named Kenny. He could catch. I would take him. I was watching this Pop Warner football game recently, and this little boy named Billy, he could catch the ball. I would take him over Odell. Do you want me to continue?
Well, it's just funny to me because Odell from New York, I got your back here because Grifka's stated his hatred for OBJ out for the Giants, and this guy seemed to just get mad money. So I don't think they give that kind of money to people that make 1 catch, as you've stated many a times. Probably has a pretty good track record if he's getting $20 million a year.
Yeah, when he's injured again, picking up his paycheck, yeah, he'll be worth it.
Okay. Well, before we move on to our next question, right here in the fine print of this email, it says, Hey Grifka, tell me how my bleep tastes. Signed Odell. So I don't know. He had a little. That wasn't really a question, more of a comment, but I guess threw that in. So I don't know Odell, but that was a good question to get us off the bat. So question number 2, Grifka. We have Matt from Allen Park. He wants to know mechanical or number 2 pencils.
Well, me, I always like the mechanical ones. They just write better.
Mechanical pencils are the worst. I don't even know why. What's the point? What's the advantage? It seems like a stupid invention. Stupid invention to me. Sorry.
Okay. They write so much nicer.
What's with the replacing of the lead, the stupid button on the side that never works when you need it to? I mean, it makes no sense. There was nothing wrong with the wood pencil for us to go to what's deemed a mechanical pencil, which to me is
like when the lead is not in there perfectly, and you go to sharpen it, and all you do is sharpen down the wood, and lead's like coming out the side. It's just like, what is this, man?
Or the wood pencil?
Yeah, like where the
I thought you were talking about with a mechanical when you like go to write and it just breaks, and then you go to write again, it just breaks.
Well, that's because you're exposing too much of the lead. Yeah, you're supposed to go, just a tiny bit. You don't, drag out the whole length of the lead that you put in there.
I think again, terrible. Just stick with the number 2s. The wood never will do you wrong, and you don't have to mess around with lead replacements. Just get to that sharpener before you run out of pencil. And I have a odd feeling that Matt in Allen Park likes the wood pencil as well.
Okay.
So the third question we have here, Grifka, is from a gentleman named Titus. He's coming from the LA County Jail, it says. So I don't know if this was his one email. Maybe they give one email, like one phone call or something. And it says, why do the Lions miss on so many second rounders over the years?
That's obviously one of those things that they're trying to be the smartest man in the room, and trying to prove it's like, you guys all missed something. That's all I can figure on how they miss on second rounders like that, because they're not just whiffing where the guy's like, well, yeah, the guy's supposed to be a starter and, possible, Pro Bowler, one maybe Hall of Famer. These guys are like not even journeymen. They don't even turn into journeymen. They're here for the rookie contract. They get cut before their 5th year and they're gone. Like nobody else picks them up. It's just I don't know how that happens, but I think that's got to be some of the, we're smarter than these guys, and they just totally whiff on these people.
So our final question, Grifka, this comes from Charles in Phoenix, and Charles wants to know, well, actually, I don't know, I'm looking at it. This isn't really a question. He says, hey, fellas, not really a question, but I thought your last show was absolutely terrible. Charles, that's a terrible question. Get that out of here. We're never reading from this guy again. I don't even know. I'd probably fight him if he was here. But we definitely don't need you.
Yeah, but you might be able to beat him in a game of one-on-one.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't know Charles personally, but if he can play basketball, I mean, I'm sure I could beat him, especially if it was like a champion. Probably take him out for sure.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. We appreciate the listeners, Odell, Matt out there, Titus, and Charles for chiming in this week. We appreciate that. And Grifka, we are basically like a week and a half away from real football, man. What I thought we'd do is just cue the people up for the next podcast and get the heck out of here. So, we are, again, game is tomorrow when people are listening to this. So it'll probably be game day for the Lions, game 4. Not too much to watch, but I can't wait for those cuts to come out. Those will be interesting. We've already went through them. And we're going to have more details next week. Grifka, I was making the list this week. I have like a notebook page and a half of stuff for the tailgate, both everything from grill to food to stereo to all the Kool-Aid stuff we'll be bringing down there. So it's going to be big. We'll have a little more details. If anybody wants to swing through or say what's up, we'll be out there. It's going to be just a total blast. Grifka, I think it's going to be the first ever all day, maybe all night tailgate. I think we're going to be down there in the morning, and we won't be leaving there till late in the morning of the next day. How about that? That's going to be good.
That's going to be a long day, man.
Oh, it couldn't be better, though. I mean, me and you will have to fight a couple times probably by the time the day's out. But other than that, it should be good.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. Looking forward to it.
So next week we'll have a huge Jets preview. We'll be talking all about that game. It was just announced today that Sam Darnold is the starter for the New York Jets, and they traded Teddy Bridgewater. So we'll be all over that and kind of be breaking down offense, defense, what we expect, and then cannot wait until that is over and the Lions have whooped their tail and get to do a review after a real game. That's going to be incredible. So look forward to that. Grifka, any parting shots or anything else you want to tell the people?
Just keep drinking the Kool-Aid, man. Should be a good year.
Absolutely. Drinking in, everybody, and hit that subscribe button on iTunes. Give us a rate and review. Share it with a friend. Tell somebody else that loves the Lions to check out this podcast. We've been growing each and every day and month. We've been doing this thing. We really love it, and we thank all you guys for reaching out. So keep it up, and Detroit Koolaid signing out, everybody. Enjoy Game 4. Cannot wait for Monday Night Football. We'll check you all next week.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in.